Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Stand Up Guy Radio. And now, let's start the show with your host, Michael Panzeca and Al Romero. Here we go. Mr. Al Romero is here.
Here we go.
How you doing, buddy?
Good. You changed. Oh, well, that's because I don't have you on. There we go. Now we got it.
Okay.
I put it in gallery. I didn't have it in gallery.
Wow, look at you using technology, gallery.
Right. Yeah.
You know, that right there would normally have taken 3 days to figure out.
Gallery. Where is it? Where do I find it? Where does it go? What do I press?
Oh, so how you doing, buddy? What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Just, hanging in there. I did my first show.
I'm sorry. Let me just get a drink of water. Hold on a second.
It went good.
Sorry.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. We're not on the air yet, are we?
Yes.
Oh, we are. Oh, yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone out there. Hello.
We're recording, brother. We're on the air.
I didn't realize that, man. You know what? What I want to do sometime, I don't know how to do it.
Right.
I would love to show what you and I go through.
Behind the
what
scenes.
you go through with me when we're texting.
Well,
that's so fucking funny.
You should just come to my therapist's office with me, and it's all there.
Stop texting.
We should do a behind the scenes for sure. Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But everything's kind of weird. I was, supposed to start teaching at the Improv in Miami, the Improv in West Palm. My stand-up comedy classes. Sunday night, Sunday I went for a nice ride on the Harley, and then all of a sudden we got a curfew and we had to cancel everything. So.
Oh, that's right, the curfew. I forgot about that. Yeah. Man, it's amazing all the crap that's going on, huh?
Yeah, this is a weird year. Like, I'm not getting none of this stuff was on my to-do list. Like, none of this was on there.
No. God, 2020 is going to go down in history as one of the worst years.
I know.
God.
But you think about the 60s and 70s though, with the war, and this probably is small compared to that, wouldn't you think?
Well, yeah. Well, I was there. I'm old enough to remember that. I was a teenager during those times. I was going to college during the Vietnam War. But the problem with this is it's one thing after another.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? First you have the virus, then the shutdown, then the economy going to crap.
Right.
Then this happened. It's like it doesn't stop. It's like, what's the next shoe that's gonna fall?
I know. It's and I mean, I'm old enough to remember, in the 60s and 70s with, racism and rioting and all that stuff. It's been going on forever. I mean, I remember I have this little video I like to watch from a record. I forget. I think it's Tom Clay or somebody with Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and all those guys getting killed. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that they were trying to help solve racism. I really think that is why they were trying to get rid of them. I mean, there's other reasons too, but anyway.
Well, I mean, the thing about Sir Harm, the guy that killed Bobby Kennedy, that's still an enigma, man. We still don't know what the hell that was all about,
Yeah.
That's still an enigma as to why this guy killed him,
Right.
But listen, talking about remembering stuff, I came to the United States in 1961. In 1961, in Miami, Florida, there were color bathrooms and white bathrooms.
Yeah.
I remember it took me years to realize what he was saying. I remember one time I was at Miami airport waiting for some relatives who coming from Cuba. And I was a kid. I didn't speak English very well or any. And I was drinking out of a fountain. I remember this policeman screaming at me, telling me to get off. And I didn't realize what he was saying. Now I realized that what I was doing, I was drinking out of a colored fountain, and it went all berserk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that wasn't that long ago. It wasn't that long ago. And by the way, this is episode 7.
I know, man. Yeah.
Episode 7,
the haters
and we
were wrong.
What?
The haters were wrong.
The haters were wrong. I think we have more listeners tonight than they have in the comedy clubs. I really do. We're doing.
Oh, I can guarantee you that.
People are listening, and by the way, share, and share.
Yeah.
Invite your friends. We are, and
Sony.
But we have a very special guest. He's in the waiting room. I don't want to keep him in there much longer. He's a good friend of mine. He's also from my hometown, Cincinnati. We worked with him on Carnival Cruise Lines. And I want to give him a proper introduction. Some of you may know him already from the WWE. But ladies and gentlemen, coming to the show right now is Mr. Greg Hamilton.
Damas y caballeros, aquí en este programa tenemos al muchacho de Cincinnati, Greg Hamilton.
Hey!
What's up, guys?
So great to see you, man.
Great to see you.
Oh, my God.
See,
the thing is, he has a real brick wall. We're using virtual background.
Yeah, this is real brick. That's not real, Panzeca?
Oh.
No.
I thought that looks like, some Italian masonry behind you.
Yeah.
So, Greg, how the hell are you, buddy? What's going on, man? Welcome to the show, and thank you.
Thanks, man. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Seeing you two again is awesome. I mean, I'm sure we'll go into some stories and the way we all know each other, but it's great to be here. I'm doing well, man. I'm very happy. Doing all right.
You're doing great, my friend. Come on, don't be modest. You're doing great.
Right. Actually, we have to cut. We have to cut your time a little bit because George Solano's coming on. Let me take a drink of water. Hold on a second.
Hey, dude. Can I tell you something, dude? Okay, and that's it. Solano, I miss that guy.
We met. So Carnival Cruise Lines, you were a cruise director. I'll just give you some quick little memories of like things that I hope that I remember and hold on to. Meeting you, knowing you were finding out you were from Cincinnati. I think Al knew you already, might have mentioned you to me.
Yes.
You introduced me on stage from backstage, and I just remember listening backstage and thinking, because you were a big fan of Saturday Night Live too.
Yeah. You remember this?
Oh, yes, I remember. Oh. And I'm like, this guy sounds like the announcer from Saturday Night Live. And I would have the best shows. One of the best shows I ever had in my life was with Greg, back in the back, me and you, and I don't know who else was on the show, but it was like the Rat Pack, dude. When we were together, the guys like each other. The audiences can pick up the guys like each other.
Oh, yeah, they can pick that up.
And we had the best shows. Yeah. But I remember his introduction. I'm like, this guy is so talented. Like, he is so good. And go ahead.
Well, first of all, there's a couple things I'll say. And I don't need to tell you guys this. You guys have been doing the road long enough. You know you got chemistry with certain people. And when you're doing shows, like, you know it's going to be fire because you complement one another, right?
Right.
So, but there's, some of the musical directors were very cool back then to work with me. I was like, hey, I have this idea, and they would run with it. So the reason the Saturday Night Live thing happened, because our shows on the ship that happened to be on Saturday night, I would do the intros from backstage. The band leader, the musical director, would play the theme song from Saturday Night Live. And I would go, it's Saturday Night Live, musical guest, Pete whoever and the Ecstasy Orchestra, comedian Mike Panzeca. So we did the whole thing just like SNL, man. So it's funny you remember that. Wow.
I totally remember that, and I was so impressed because I love Saturday Night Live too. I saw the first episode. I used to watch it with my dad. So that was our big thing. But so when you did that, I was like,
we did a riff on that. Just having some fun.
Yeah, you were amazing. Thanks, and then I remember having a cigar with you many times.
On the front deck of the Fascination.
And talking about whatever the heck we talked about, Cincinnati and your future.
Cincinnati and family. And
yeah, we had some real heart-to-hearts with cigars. It was great, man. Yeah. You were like a little brother to me. It was so good. And then I know Al met. How did you meet Greg, Al? What?
Same thing, because you and Solano worked together quite a bit.
Well, yeah, Solano got me the job at Carnival many, many years before, So I've known Solano like almost from the very beginning I started doing comedy. So we've been friends for many, many years. So I knew Solano, but I worked with you when you were a cruise director several times.
Oh yeah, but even when I was an assistant cruise director or a
That's right.
host with George Solano, when
Correct.
Romero would come on, I mean, it was just a good time. Like,
I know.
because you and George would hang out. He'd bring me in the fold, be hanging out, cutting up, and
we would go to his cabin, to
yes,
the cruise director's cabin. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's what I remember, man.
Yeah. Now, what year did you leave Carnival?
I left Carnival, I want to say 2005. 05, 06, between there. Yeah.
Wow. I rode with him to
years.
the airport for his last. I rode with you to the airport in Orlando?
Yeah.
And you were just decided that you were leaving Carnival and you were on your way and you were like, Mike, I don't know if I'm making a mistake here or not. And yeah. I was like, buddy, you're not making a mistake. You're going to be great. You're going to be fine. And then you went. Was that when you went to Disney and did?
No.
What happened? What happened? Catch us up on the whole timeline, if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So I want to preface all of this by saying I'm incredibly lucky and been in the right place, the right time, every time, and I'm being serious when it's not like I mean that.
I know.
So I was on a ship at the time out of Galveston, Texas, and a film crew came on from CBS to shoot a vacation package about cruising and about Mexico and everything else. And so they were on our ship, and I was just hosting the shows like we do. And then the executive producer came up to me one time and he goes, "Hey man, I saw your show. It's good stuff. You ever done television before?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "You should try sometime." I'm like, "Well, they don't just hand those gigs out, do they?" And he said, "Well, listen, if you're ever on vacation, you want to come be a guest host on our morning show on CBS in San Antonio, you let me know."
Right.
So a month later, my contract ended, and I called Luis. And he said, "Yeah, come on through." So I guest hosted for the day with the co-host. Left, not thinking anything of it. Went really well. Then a month later, he called me and said, "Hey, do you want to come back and audition because the male host on our show isn't going to re-sign his contract?"
I remember now.
So I went and just auditioned. And then I was on the ship with you, Panzeca, and got the call. And he said, "Hey, we'd love to bring you in to be the guest, to be the new male co-host of the show on CBS."
Yeah.
On
I was waiting for the same call, but I never got it.
Well, you said something. You said something, and let me correct you. You're right. It takes luck to make it in any business, but luck gets you in the door. Talent keeps you in the room, my friend.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can get lucky and get in the room, but if you don't have the talent, you're not gonna stay in the room very long. And you obviously stayed in the room, so obviously you have the talent too. Yeah, we're all gonna blow each other by the time the show is over.
But his humility is very nice. He's great. He's a very grateful young guy. He's a great guy.
Thank you, man.
So I remember riding with you and you were a little bit like, I hope I'm doing the right thing. And that was a big move because being a cruise director, what did you do before Carnival?
Oh God, bro, I worked at a shoe store in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And then started as a social host on Carnival, worked my way up, became a cruise director, and I thought, hey, this is life. I'm 24 years old, 25 years old, I'm a cruise director. Like, life is good.
Yeah.
So it was a big choice for me to walk away from that. Granted, TV had always been the dream, but I didn't know anything about television. I knew nothing about it, man.
Right.
So that's why gambling, when I was having such a good time as a CD, it felt like a big gamble at the time, but definitely worth it.
Yeah. Paid off.
Yeah.
So then, you got to take chances in life.
So you did. What was the show that you auditioned for and started doing? What was the actual show?
It's called Great Day SA in San Antonio on the morning.
Oh, that's right. I remember that
morning show.
All right. And then what happened?
From there, I signed with an agent in Los Angeles and moved straight to LA. Hosted some local stuff there, and then that's when I got the offer in Orlando to host the American Idol Experience at Hollywood Studios. It was the conjunction between American Idol and Disney, where this live stage show, people auditioned for our show, won a dream ticket, went to the front of the line at any American Idol audition in the country. And this is when Idol was at its sort of peak.
Yeah, I remember.
Wow.
And then you did that for how long did you do that?
I did that, I guess, until 2009. And again, another piece of holy crap. I don't know if you can cuss on the show.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want on here.
Another holy shit
Fuck
moment.
yes, you can cuss on this show.
So you guys know how entertainment is, and like it's tough to get new gigs in this business. I don't need to tell you guys that.
Yeah.
So at that point, Idol is ending. The TV show is ending, which means our show is ending. And I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? I'm in Orlando. I'm stuck here. Oh, my God. I'm dead in the water. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so our show is just ending. A guy that I worked with, an audio technician, Ronaldo, was playing a pickup basketball game at an audio university, Full Sail University. You guys may know of it.
Mm-hmm.
And playing a pickup basketball game with a producer from WWE who said, hey, we're going to start this new hosting program with more live interaction in our live shows with the crowd. We don't want just a ring announcer. We want like an actual interactive host. Do you know anybody? And Ronaldo's like, yeah, my buddy Greg, that's what he does. He's like, oh, have him send me his stuff. Idol finishes. I got 2 months off, and then boom, signed with WWE. Lucky.
Did you audition for them, or did you?
Oh,
how
yes.
Did you get it? So what did you have to do?
So for WWE, what I needed to do was I had to first send my reel. Then they liked the reel. They sent me some material that they wanted me to put on tape. Now, granted, at that time, I wasn't even watching WWE, so I'm sort of doing my interpretation. God, I wonder what that looks like. Look at that. Oh, my God. So, yes, I just do what I think I'm supposed to do. I hadn't watched it since I was a kid. They liked it enough. They brought me and 2 other guys in for like 2 full days of live auditioning. And then at the end of that second day, they were like, hey, you got the job. We'll see you January 14th.
What was that like?
Oh, the biggest relief, man. The biggest relief.
Yeah, I bet.
Dude. Listen, here's the truth, though, too. Wrestling in WWE is one of those things that you think of with your childhood. And although we have a lot of fans that are adults, men and women, but at the time, I hadn't watched it since I was a kid. And I'll admit, when I went to audition at first, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it, but it's an entertainment gig, right? But then the more we auditioned, and then we went to a live show on the second day, I fell in love with it, man.
Yeah.
And I really, really wanted it. Like, I genuinely wanted it.
Now, actually, I have a woman in one of my classes from Russia, Anya, with Bogabales. I can't say her last name, but she's really tall and beautiful. She was in the WWE for a while, and we talked about it. She knows who you are, but I can't remember.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
what was her ring name?
I got to find out. She does the pictures for us, Al, when with the pretty girls. It says, I listen to
I saw it. The one with the black hair, right?
Yes. By the way, since you're listening live right now on Saturday night, listen to me. I want you to look down. I want you to share. I want you to like. I want you to share. I want you to start a watch party with us. This is Greg Hamilton, guys. This doesn't happen every day, okay? By the way, our new T-shirts are in. Hold on a second. T-shirts are in, baby.
Yeah.
T-shirts are in. I went crazy. Oh, I got hats. I got a mouse pad.
He got a pillow. He had a pillow.
Let me take a drink of water. Hold on a second.
But if you don't want to buy that, you can always go into your local bookstore and get
my book.
There we go.
Did you know Al wrote a book?
You know, I wrote a novel.
Yeah, I remember. No, so you were back even then. You were. I don't know if you had just started it, but I remember you talking about working on a book even back then.
Yes, yeah, I wanted to. Well, what happened was, back then was actually the screenplay, because I wrote it as a screenplay first.
Oh, okay.
And I actually had an option. I got a few $1,000s for a couple of years, but they couldn't raise enough money to make the movie. So the rights reverted back to me. The script on a inside a drawer for several years. Then I took it out, dusted it up, and wrote it as a book.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, because he can barely text. So, Greg, you have no idea what it takes. Now we're in episode 7. But when this first started, the reason we started this, Al and I are good buddies for a long time. He's my mentor, my confidant, everything. And we sit around and we have great conversations. And I'm like, we should do a podcast. Well, like we say, it only took a pandemic to get us to actually doing it.
It only took a pandemic.
But he is technically not as savvy as
he's being kind. He's being kind. Listen, this should be a sketch of Saturday Night Live, me and him. Okay? Al, just listen. Please just listen. Just listen. I'm texting. Stop texting! Because I'm so slow. I'm 3 sentences behind.
So, but what happens, Greg, is he when he doesn't understand something, he doesn't just tell you he doesn't understand. He goes into why he doesn't understand it.
As if that will make it better.
Oh, yeah. So what I'm seeing, I know. I'm looking at your page out. No, but what I'm seeing is, stop texting. Stop. There was 1 week we came close to like breaking up almost, and not we didn't talk for a week one time. I lost it. I became a total idiot. I lost it with him. What did I do? He goes, Mike, next time this happens, just say I need some time off. I need to take a break. But
I know. Listen, I frustrated the shit out of him. I understand it, and I don't, I don't get mad. I mean, when he gets mad, I don't get mad because I know that I'm driving him crazy. I know that.
Like, Al, headphones, laptop, look, and talk. That's it.
No, it's all the other things behind the scenes.
The best one that almost set me over the top was when we were first trying to figure out. We used to use his phone. We realized his computer was terrible, so we stopped doing that. Then we used his phone. And then I said, do you have an iPad? No, I don't have an iPad. So after me trying to figure out a lot of things, one day he goes, this is like 3 weeks later. I could do that on my iPad. I'm like, you have an iPad? Oh, yeah, I forgot. My wife bought me one for my birthday.
I forgot all about it.
I asked you that 3 weeks ago.
How do you forget you have an iPad?
Okay, let me defend myself, okay?
I can't wait to hear this.
My birthday's in February. My wife buys me a laptop. A tablet, okay, an iPad. So I filled it full of stuff to go on the ship. Well, 2 weeks later, the whole thing falls apart. There's no more cruising. As of the 15th or the 14th, so a couple of weeks later. So I take the iPad and I throw it, put it in my drawer or whatever. I forgot all about it. I never had an iPad before. I forgot all about the fact that I had an iPad. Then one day I'm opening the drawer and go, oh, I have an iPad. I forgot all about it.
And not only that, he likes to say no rather quickly, and it's not working. Like, I go, do you have headphones? No, I don't have headphones. I go, Al, I bet.
What do you mean you don't have headphones?
I bet if you look in the box that your phone came in like everyone else, you'll probably find them there. That's not true.
That's just bullshitting now. He's making shit up now. I'm the one that told him, let me look at the box.
Greg, I used to own and run comedy traffic school. That's for the ships. And Al worked for me. And as I say many times, I had 5 people answering the phones for customers and 3 to answer phones from Al Romero. Would call every day, but in the end, it's very worth it. So one of the questions, I try to visualize what it must be like when you jump into the ring, and how electric. What's the feeling? God, all those people. What is that like?
It's. I mean, I would imagine it's kind of like what, you guys, I know, have done some big shows over the years and some of the landmark buildings. Like for me, the pinnacle for us is WrestleMania, right? WrestleMania is our Super Bowl.
Yeah.
This past year we did it from the WWE Performance Center because of the pandemic, but last year it was at MetLife Stadium.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Just 70, 80,000 people in MetLife Stadium. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, man. And our fans come from all over the world.
Like
40 different countries represented at WrestleMania as far as fans go. So being in the ring.
Does it even feel like work?
Yes and no. It's stressful. Not just in the ring, but just behind the scenes and putting the shows together and making sure you're announcing things the way that, the brass wants them announced and the timing that they want them announced, because there's several different cues for different announcements. And that part is stressful. But then, like, when you're in there and, 80,000 people, and as the ring announcer, a lot of times, I'm in the ring announcing before the guys come out or as they come out. So I'm in the ring by myself, surrounded by 80,000 people, just letting it rip.
Wow.
And there's nothing like it.
Have you become friends with any other wrestlers? I mean, like The Rock?
Oh, yeah. Well, not The Rock, but a lot of our wrestlers, yeah, because, it's in a lot of ways, man, it's similar to a cruise line or a carnival where we're a traveling family.
That's right. You all travel together. That's
right. From, camera crew to techs to wrestlers to announcers. We're a traveling family. We all live in different cities and fly in, but we go from city to city. So yeah, those people really do become your friends. A lot of the wrestlers are my close friends, just people that I just have things in common with outside of the ring and outside of work. You got to find those relationships with friends that you just have a lot in common with, just like on a ship, man. I'm sure you meet cruise directors, hosts, other comics that you're like, hey, let's go get a bite in Cozumel because you just have that in common,
How now this obviously is a pandemic has brought everything to a screeching halt. What's the future for WWE?
Well, we've been really lucky. So in Orlando, we have our own facility called the WWE Performance Center, which is kind of like an NFL-style training facility. And that's where our up-and-coming talent, who you don't see on television yet, train and learn how to wrestle. We have NFL-style weight training coaches that coach them in the ring. So because that's our building, we've been able to keep it confined and stay on the air. We have not missed a week of television through the pandemic. Now, there's been no fans in there, and that's been tough. But it's like doing one of your sets in front of no audience, but they're recording it for TV. You know how you ride that wave of energy, right? Like,
yeah, it's kind of like instead of ladies and gentlemen, it's like, hey, here comes a guy. He's over.
Yeah, you have to be cognizant not to do that, but that's what you feel like doing. It feels like a rehearsal.
Excuse me, this guy's getting on there right now. Come on.
So let's talk some Cincinnati sports, since both of you guys are from Cincinnati.
Here we go.
And I like to make people feel miserable. So let's talk about.
Okay, let's talk about Joe Burrow. Let's talk about Joe Burrow. The next.
Actually, I was going to say you guys have a great future ahead of you, man. Really, seriously.
I love Joe Burrow. I love him. I think he's going to be great for Cincinnati. I don't know.
Higgins, the wide receiver from Clemson. We got that wide receiver out of Clemson, T. Higgins.
Higgins.
Bro, he's the real deal.
Oh, yeah, he is great, man. He is a great – yeah. Now, you have a good future. Let me ask you a question. Do you know the history of the Cincinnati Bengals?
Somewhat. I don't know. It feels like you're going somewhere with this, Al. So
no.
I'll say no, I don't.
No, I was going to ask you.
Good answer, Greg. Good answer.
Do you know that Cincinnati was the last expansion team in the AFL?
I did not know that.
Didn't know that.
Did you know there was only 2 expansion teams in the AFL? Do you know who the other one was?
No.
Miami Dolphins.
Okay.
The Miami Dolphins came in 66, and you guys came in 67. And then that's it. That was it. There was no more expansion because then they merged.
Gotcha. Okay. I was waiting for something there.
I was wondering, yeah.
I told you we weren't going to do a sports section on the show. What the hell? That's the best you could come up with?
That's it, man. That's it. That's the end of it.
That's it? Okay.
That's it.
You know, I have one. What is the mascot for the Miami Dolphins?
Well, let me ask you another question. Why do you guys call it the Ohio State University? There's no other Ohio State University. There's only one. The is not necessary.
Because it's the best one. It's the Ohio State University.
Versus the other Ohio State.
By the way, my brother went to Ohio State. I went to University of Cincinnati. Joe Burrow was supposed to go to UC for a while.
Oh, really?
And he went out to
Ohio State.
No, then he went to LSU.
No, but he started at Ohio State.
Yeah, he started Ohio State, was going to go to UC, and then he went to LSU.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, he's going to be great, man. So let's talk about Cincinnati, bro, since we're homies and everything. Greg, can we talk about your name and how that happened? And
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys know me as Greg Hudson. That's my real name.
Right.
But then if people that watch WWE know me as Greg Hamilton, because for proprietary reasons, I had to have a new last name for, video game, trading cards, all that stuff.
Right.
And so they're like,
look how he says that, video games, trading cards, all that stuff. Like, we have that, Al. Right? Yeah.
Oh, why not? I'll send you a copy of WWE 2K20.
Okay. All right, cool.
$1 million serial checks that I get every week.
Anyway, you're making me red now, man.
Oh, what? I love you, bro. I
miss you guys. You guys busting balls. I miss it, man. God, I miss it. It's like we're in the crew bar right now before a set.
My shelves, by the way, my shelves in the kitchen do not look anything like your shelves. I have a can of soup and some potato chips. Look at his shelves. No.
This is like a bookshelf. I don't have that many books, so I filled it with bourbon. You know?
Wouldn't it be weird if we found out that was a virtual? His house looks like a virtual background for Zoom. That's what it is. They should take a picture of his house and make it a virtual background. Greg Hamilton's virtual background.
Sure, for a reasonable
Who's the picture of the lady behind you?
That's Twiggy. Remember Twiggy?
Twiggy?
Yeah.
I
just
love
like
Twiggy.
an updated version, like on the brushed metal and then some paint.
Oh, nice. So go ahead with what we.
Yeah, you were trying to say something. We interrupted you. What
No.
you saying?
So you guys know he's Greg Hudson. That's my real name.
Yeah.
And then with WWE, I had to pick a new last name for proprietary reasons within the company. And they said, give us a list of 10 names, last names you'd be cool with. And so Greg Hamilton, which is what my name is for WWE, was my first choice. I gave him some other ones, but that was the one. And it's because I'm in Cincinnati. I live in Cincinnati, but I'm from Hamilton, Ohio, which is like 20 miles north of here. And it's, it's kind of a small town. It's,
I thought it was because of Hamilton County. I got it wrong.
No, it's better than that, man. Like I went to Hamilton High School. I grew up in Hamilton, Ohio. When I went to join the cruise ships, I left Hamilton, Ohio to come to the ship. So just kind of a nod to my hometown that, I'm proud of coming from there. Not a lot of people get out of there, and it's I love it.
I hear you have a street named after you?
No, not a street. He has a whole day.
A whole day.
Cincinnati has a day where everyone talks like this. How are you doing? Good to see you.
You have to announce everything. So on Greg Hamilton Day, you have to walk into Starbucks and say, I'll have a venti latte. Otherwise, they don't serve it to you. You don't get it.
So tell us how that happened. That's amazing. They named a day after Greg.
Yeah, I mean, Panzeca, you've known me long enough, man. I'm just like, I'm a Cincinnati homer.
I know you are.
Homer, so
I know you are.
I love doing things around the city. I work closely with City Beat Magazine, which they do a lot of lifestyle entertainment videos, and they have a paper themselves and websites. And so I do a lot of videos just on my own for them, just to help out, highlight things around the city. And I guess somehow they're connected really tightly with the city, and then it just got nominated that there should be a Greg Hamilton Day by, I don't know. And next thing I know, my phone rang, and it was the guy from City Beat like, hey, the Mayor Cranley is going to name Greg Hamilton Day this coming, I think it was like a Friday or Tuesday or something. And
right.
That was it. It was in like March 12th. March
12th. Yeah. So let's talk about Cincinnati a little bit, because I come up there. My family's all still there. My dad is still pissed off that I left. I know he is, because all my family, they work at Procter & Gamble, they work at GE, they're lawyers, all the Panzecas are in Cincinnati. By the way, next year when we have our reunion, if you're in town, I hope you can stop by, bro.
Let's go.
They would love to. You would just love my family. But they're all Cincinnati people. My dad worked for the post office there in Cincinnati, then became president of the Ohio Postal Workers Union, and they're all Cincinnati people. And they're Bengals fans and Reds fans, and that's just how we grew up. But a lot of people, whenever I say Cincinnati, they just make fun of me and tease me, and they think redneck, and they think all this stuff. But I remember a great sports town. I remember great music. I remember great art, education. I remember the police being a little over the top. I do remember that. Yeah. They're serious, but Cincinnati's a great town with the architecture and what do you like about Cincinnati? Besides you live there, but what do you like?
Oh, that's easy. So for me, I'm a big food nerd, man. If you guys see any of my Instagram, yeah. I love food, cooking, food, anything.
I have watched your cooking show, by the way. It's very good.
Thanks, man. So here in OTR and over the Rhine, like Al, we were talking about before with the architecture,
right?
That's all been refurbished over the past 15 plus years or so. And now there are shops, restaurants, lofts, all of these really entrepreneurial type businesses, chef owner, proprietors, store owners. And that's all in my neighborhood that I live in. And what I love is that there's no chains. I mean, you can't find a Starbucks with a search warrant. I mean, it's
You're kidding me.
No,
I don't believe
with a search warrant.
He's right.
Bro, there's Urbana Coffee, there's Coffee Emporium, there's
He's talking about Over the Rhine now, not Cincinnati.
Where I'm
He's talking
at.
about Over the Rhine. Yeah.
I'm saying, yeah, our neighborhood of Over the Rhine. I'm not saying the whole city.
Yeah.
No, I understand that, but
I know it's hard to believe. I mean, you got to go into the city proper and exit up to get a Starbucks. But there are 4 or 5 local coffee shops. There are 3 or 4 local Italian places that make scratch-made pasta.
Right.
So that's what I love about it, is that it's all local entrepreneurs, and they feed off of one another. They're not in competition. So there is, for example, up the street from me on my block, Lucius Q Barbecue on one corner. Across the street from them is Nation Burger. So Nation Burger will throw together like a burger of the month. It'll be like a brisket burger, but like featuring brisket from Lucius Q across the street. You see what I mean? So everybody works together to lift the city up. Like the rising tide raises all ships, and everybody here in this area in Cincinnati wants to see one another succeed. They use bread from local bakeries. They don't order them from Cisco.
Right.
So that's what I love, is just that the love of the city that everybody has.
And speaking of supporting each other, if you're watching right now, go down there and share the show with your friends.
Share.
Especially my people in Cincinnati, who, by the way, I did the demographics. Most of our listeners are from New York, LA, Cincinnati. And then there was one guy from Pakistan. That scares me. But
he follows you too?
Huh?
He follows you too?
Yeah.
He follows both of us.
I keep waiting for the wife to show up, but I don't know what's happening. But anyway.
I have another sports question just to fuck with you guys.
Hold on now. Before I want to wrap up about Cincinnati, but it's a great town, and the riverfront and all that, and I love it down there. I love downtown, and I love Cincinnati. So what do you say when people bust your balls about it? Like, what do you say?
Yes and no, they do sometimes, and then because in a non-coronavirus world, we travel all the time. And so when we come to Cincinnati, like, I'll take people out to eat here. Right. And they're like, oh, I had no idea. Oh my gosh, it's such a cool town. This is so great.
And you like Skyline Chili?
Oh, I love Skyline, man.
La Rosa's Pizza?
Love La Rosa's.
You know, my dad grew up with Buddy La Rosa. And when he just had one store on Boutonneau, and before he franchised, and he actually talked to my dad and said, I don't know if I should, franchise because I don't want to lose the quality. And look at it now.
Oh, the best decision he's ever made.
He lived in the Archbishop's house, the old Archbishop's house. They actually built train tracks up to his house so they could bring wood from all over the country to build that house. Yeah. Wow. Buddy La Rosa. My dad went to high school with Roger Staubach.
Really?
He went to LaSalle.
Staubach did?
Yeah, he went to LaSalle High School.
Staubach is from Cincinnati?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and you know who else is from Cincinnati? Steven Spielberg.
No.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Nick Lachey. Well, we all know that.
Oh, yeah, that.
That's
Emilio
your lookalike.
Estevez.
Who?
Emilio Estevez. He's from Cincinnati.
Emilio Estevez. Jonathan Winters. I think he might have been from Dayton, but that area. A lot of great people are from Cincinnati.
Yeah, Benito Mussolini. I heard that he moved to Italy years later.
Mussolini's pizza is my favorite here in town. They do a great pie still to this day.
I lived in Clifton on Calhoun Street, right across from UC, and I lived in an old row house, and it had the brick walls just like you have, and it had a downstairs and it had upstairs, and it was the old Italians back in the day had a little hill there, and they used to grow wine in the grow grapes in the back and make wine. And then there was a sign on the wall that said the hiding place, and it pointed downstairs, and that's because they used to tan leather down there and do all this stuff. I loved living in that house.
Wow.
I love all that old brick wall stuff, and it's just amazing, man.
It's all over the city, man. And I love that the city's kept the integrity of all that architecture all over the city, not just in my neighborhood.
Well, one of my jobs in high school was I worked at this place called Stripco. And is the Cincinnati Tobacconist shop still there?
It sounds familiar.
It's been there forever. I worked for this guy, Werner Schnetzer, and he bought the Stripco place where I worked. And he used to bring in, he was one of our customers. Well, I used to go into these houses because back in the day, if you had a house like Greg and you had wood and brick, it was considered kind of basic. So they would paint everything. So then in the 80s and 90s, they wanted to get back to the wood. It was cool to have that. So he would bring in all the moldings, the doors, the fireplaces, and we would strip all the paint off everything, and they would redo all those houses down there. So like all that old architecture and stuff. So
I love it, man. And I'll leave you with two things on Cincinnati. First of all, before we move on to something else, you might not know this. A lot of people don't know this. So with WWE, normally we're on the road every week, right? We do SmackDown on Friday nights in a different city all over the country and even international a few times a year. So because of that, I can live anywhere in the lower 48 states that I want to live. I choose to live here.
There you go, baby.
I can live anywhere I want to because we're in a different city so just so you know, not, he's from Cincinnati, lives there. No. I can live anywhere in the country that I want. I choose to live right here.
Yeah. And why is it? My dad told me why it's called Over the Rhine, and I can't remember. Do you know why it's called Over the Rhine?
Because the Rhine River harkening back to the Germans, but then also I think there was a canal. Here.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
There was a canal that
right
went over. And then second of all, with the whole Skyline thing, Ariana. So.
Is Skyline Chili from Cincinnati?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Because that's all over the United States now.
No, it's only it's Cincinnati and Florida and maybe Chicago. I don't think it's anywhere else.
No, I think just really? Florida.
I could have sworn I'd seen him at the airport.
My cousin married into the Lamborghini family that used to own Skyline. They don't own it anymore. They sold it, but yeah. But
so
go ahead.
One reason this is how that I knew I loved Ariana because she has the Skyline face, where no matter what we're doing, we went grocery shopping. I'm not making something grocery shopping. Sorry to tell this story, honey. We go grocery shopping, man. I mean, we must have spent over $100, and we're thinking about we're planning dinner that night and all this and that. We pull out of the parking lot at the light, get ready to drive home, and I'm thinking, okay, so I'm going to take the steak and marinate in this. There's a Skyline across the street. She shoots me this look like, and I'm like, we're getting Skyline already. Yes. She's like, yeah. Babe, I'm sorry. It's true.
I went today.
I wasn't mad about it. I was all in on it. But she has the Skyline look, and I know what it is. So, yeah, we're big Skyline people, man.
It's there's one on every corner out in Cincinnati. They used to be open till like 3 o'clock in the morning. And
I've had Skyline chili. It's very good.
I like it. Yeah. And the Grater's ice cream.
Yeah.
But so one of the things, I love Skyline chili too. One of the things
let me ask you a question before we get off the subject. Sure. Where other countries have you been to? You say you go international. What countries have you gone to with WWE?
Oh my gosh! I mean, all over the United Kingdom, Spain, Italy. What else am I missing in Europe?
Germany.
Yeah, sorry, Germany, Norway, Sweden.
Wow.
Philippines, China, Japan.
Yeah.
You're traveling more
Colombia,
WWE than
Panama.
Yeah.
More European countries than I can't think of off the top of my head, but yeah.
How often are you home, Cincinnati?
Well, now what's happening now is so I'll go that we're shooting, like I said, at the Performance Center in Orlando. So I'll go down and we'll shoot like 2 or 3 shows over the course of 3 or 4 days. Then I'll be home for 2 weeks.
Oh,
do you find people on the street like recognize you and come up to you and say hi and stuff?
Yes and no. Yeah, it's few and far between, but when it happens, it's really cool because it takes a WWE real fan to recognize me, but when they do, it's really cool.
It happens to me sometimes, but it's usually because I owe somebody money. But
you're like, hey,
are you?
This wasn't always gray, but you look like the guy that owes me $50.
Are you the guy that I saw his head peeping through my window last night? Is that you?
So, Greg, Al and I like to do this with our guests on the show. This is our 7th one. We've had some really good shows. I'm very happy about this. This is something I always wanted to do. But we always do this thing where we talk about the worst gigs we've ever had and the best gigs. But we've talked about some of our worst gigs. Maybe not with WWE, but can you just talk about some, like maybe one of the worst trips you ever had or one of the worst shows, or it doesn't even have to be with WWE, any like something that really everything went wrong?
Man. Yeah, actually. So I don't know if I can tell that one or not.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
No, he may not. You don't know.
You can't tease us like that and say, "Oh, I don't know." No.
It's about us. Maybe it's about us. Maybe
no, it's nothing to do with you guys at all. Although okay. So basically, what happened was we had mechanical issues on an airplane. So we did a show in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
In Riyadh.
Saudi Arabia, WWE.
Yeah, I've done 4 there myself now. Been there 4 times.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
So we did one, and the way it happens is we fly over. It takes anywhere, depending on where we are from the U.S., about 17 hours to get there. So we get there, we land late at night, go to the hotel, go to bed, wake up the next day, go straight to the not arena, but stadium, if you will. Mm-hmm. Rehearse all day, do the show, straight from the show, straight to the airport, and charter out at like 2 a.m. to head back to the U.S. because the show's on a Thursday, SmackDown's Friday. So we literally turn around, 17 hours there, do the show, boom, back on a flight, 17 hours back.
Now you have to fly private, right?
Yeah. It was
they have their own jet, right? WWE.
Yeah, well, for this in particular, because it's such a long flight and we're on such a time constraint, we had this huge jet. Yeah, it was great. Like all lay down beds, all lay down.
And you're flying with all the wrestlers too, right? Everybody.
It's everybody. Yeah, it was all of us.
Yeah.
So we get over there, we do the show, we get back to the airport, and then the plane had mechanical issues. So we're sitting at the airport like 2 a.m. We're waiting for it. Then it's 3:30 a.m. Still not ready to go. Then at about 5 a.m., we're like, man, it wasn't going to get fixed. So then they bus us back to the hotel at 5 a.m. Mm. We stay there all day long, waiting without knowing anything whatsoever. And then finally at 1 a.m. the next day, drove back to the airport, got on the plane, and then flew back.
Wow.
So most of us missed SmackDown because it was that Friday night. But just the waiting around after 17 hours flying there, doing a show, you're exhausted, it's hot, and then waiting around, going to the airport, sitting there for 5-6 hours, no plane, then back to the hotel, and then back to the airport, and 17 hours back home.
Wow.
That was nuts.
Now, Vince McMahon, you met him, right?
Yeah.
What's the future of the XFL?
Oh, man, who knows? That's well above my pay grade, not anything I'm going to speculate on because I like my job. And
Hey, Al, could you imagine, though, if let's say things were different and Greg became a flight attendant? Please return your seat to the upright position.
And then Panzeca, I would see somebody, I would see a smart ass like you who says, my seat's like this. You have to get it put up like this. So if I'm like this, I'm a lot safer than if I'm like this. So if we get down like this, I'm safe. I remember that bit. One of my favorite bits ever. Just like, another one of my favorite bits. Why is it that every time you're trying to find something in the cars, they tell you have to turn the radio down?
Turn the radio down.
Because I turn the volume down means I can see better? I'm sure I butchered it, but I remember the premise.
How do you know that I sound Romanian?
And so you always wanted to do TV. What about movies?
I don't know, man. I just like being a host, I think. I would love to learn how to act. I would love to do movies, sure. But I think for me, I've just always wanted to be a host and facilitate and be a storyteller. I want to tell stories, whether it's my story or someone I'm interviewing or showcasing their business or their restaurant or their food. Or
when did you become a food nerd? What got you? Was your house a cooking house? Were you in the kitchen cooking all the time with your parents, or?
A little bit of that. My dad worked for a food distribution company growing up, but when I got to LA, I met a guy who was a chef, Joseph Feldman, and he taught me a little bit of technique. And I've always loved food, but then once he showed me a couple things and I learned how to make something that I thought there was no way in hell I'd be able to make. Yeah. I got the bug. It's like, oh wait, I can do this? Wow, okay, yeah. It just once you get that some lessons in technique and you surprise yourself, right? And that's kind of what happened.
Now, is your apartment is it 2 stories?
No. It's 1 story, but the ceilings are high enough to be 2.
Is it on the first floor?
No, top floor.
Yeah, because I saw you cooking something grilling outside on your balcony, I think, for your show.
Yeah, my patio, yeah.
And you're allowed to do that? I was like, wow, is he allowed to do that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This isn't a traditional complex.
Oh, really?
It's not like that at all.
That's great, man.
Class, yeah.
And
now, why do you call it a loft? Why is it a loft? Is it a loft usually 2 stories?
No, it's just, because it's all like open air. It's got high ceilings, open air. The bedroom is back there. It's separated by a middle sort of wall where the bathroom is, but it's pretty much all open space. That's what I say that. And high ceiling.
So are you going to be going to Bengals games and Reds games and you do all that stuff too?
Absolutely, man. Last year I walked down to the stadium from here last year.
I know.
It's just, I can't wait. I'm sure I don't have to tell you guys this, but God, I can't wait for sports to come back, man.
Yeah, me too. When the Bengals, I don't know if I probably told you this a million times. Stop me if I did. But when the when I moved to Florida, the Cincinnati Bengals were going to the Super Bowl. And every week I was here, the first year I was here, like 86, 88 or whatever it was.
88.
Yeah. And I was going, the Bengals are going to the Super Bowl. I said it every week to my friends and they're like, no way, you're an idiot. Anyway, so they made it to the Super Bowl. They played the 49ers. I couldn't get a ticket. I couldn't afford it. So I got a job doing security. Did I ever tell you this story, Greg?
No, what?
So I got a job doing security with my friend. And the night before, so before the Super Bowl, they had a concert in the Miami Arena, and I got to do security for Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., and Liza Minnelli. And I was standing like 10 feet away from Frank Sinatra and behind the orchestra while they sing. And then the next day, I go to the Super Bowl, and I got paid $6 an hour, by the way. I go to the Super Bowl. I'm guarding a T-shirt shack, and they promised us they would rotate it. They promised they would rotate us down to the thing. Now I'm standing in this T-shirt shack on this level, and I can't see. I hear the bus pull up. Who they? And then I can see like this much of the field, and I just said, "The hell with it, I'm leaving." I told my buddy, "Let's go, follow me." We ended up getting on an elevator. We got on one elevator, made it down to the locker room where we got kicked out of there. And then one time we got on, Don Johnson was on an elevator with his bodyguards, and we're like, okay. Finally, I find the end zone entrance. There's security at the Super Bowl is so tight. You have police watching security. So I go, just follow me. So we're walking to the end zone. There's all these cops, and they're like, and I always just believe if you just act like you know what you're doing or you're supposed to be there, people will just believe it.
So I got where I am today.
Yeah, I know. So I go. So the cops are like, "You're supposed to be down here." I'm like, "Yeah, security." And I just kept walking. Now I'm standing on the field next to Joe Montana while he's warming up. Billy Joel is singing the national anthem. And my buddy, he's on the other side. Now, we're not supposed to be down there. So we're screwing up the stagger. Like, you're only supposed to be like 6 feet apart, and we're messing it up. And finally, I saw he was getting caught. I was getting caught. We had to turn ourselves in so we could get our driver's licenses back. But then we got kicked out, and then we were in the limousine outside watching it. And then I ended up going to some bar down in Miami to watch the game, and they lost. But I was at the Super Bowl on the field, standing next to Joe Montana.
Wait,
so you could have hit Montana over the head with something and won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Romero's right. You cost us a Super Bowl, Panzeca. That's what I hear Romero saying.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You lost the Super Bowl for the Bengals.
But what were you going to say, Greg?
It's your fault.
I was going to say you buried the lead here because, there's two questions. First of all, what were you wearing as you're standing next to security pretending to be a security guard? Did you still have your security jacket
actually got a job doing security, so I was wearing the event staff shirt.
Oh, so okay. So when you left your post at the T-shirt thing, you're like, okay, screw this. But you kept the security shirt on.
But I kept the security shirt on.
Okay.
But I wasn't supposed to be on the field. I was supposed to be at the T-shirt shack.
Now, you also buried the lead because you're like, oh, yeah, we got our license back. We left. Then we were watching the limousine. Whoa, what?
Yeah.
You went from doing security for $6 an hour to watching the game in a limousine?
Yeah. So, and I also, by the way, I had my Bengals jersey on underneath my event staff, and they made me take it off. They're like, you can't wear that. Anyway, I was okay.
Oh, my gosh.
We had to turn ourselves in because in order to get your driver's license back, you had to give your shirt. So I gave my shirt, and this guy's like, "Oh," I go, "You guys promised you would let us go down to the field," and I just went down there, and he started making fun of me, and I'm like, "Look, Rambo, just give me my license back and let me get this." So we now get it. We were working for security, and we're getting escorted out by security. My friend George Morales and I, and then I run into my one buddy Jim McComb, who's also from Cincinnati, and he went down there trying to buy tickets and he couldn't get them, but he was in the back of a limo and I ran into him. So we were watching it in the parking lot in a limousine for a while. And then at halftime, I just said to my buddy, let's go. It's just fine. So we're driving around Miami. We pulled in this place. It turns out to be like a strip bar. And the game is
Wait. You ended up at a strip bar by accident?
By accident. The game was not even on. And the girl was dancing and I was having a steak. And I remember going, excuse me, could you turn the TV on, please? Because I bet $50 on the game with him.
Yeah.
So I watched the rest of the game from a strip club, eating a steak with my friend with naked women around. And then we almost won, but we lost. Like Joe Montana style. It was one of the best Super Bowls ever. It was great.
Yeah. I was going to say, great tits, but I want to see the game.
Yeah, right. That's what a great Super Bowl story. Like from top to bottom, from starting working security to going down the field with no ticket. And oh, by the way, there's Joe Montana.
I'll give you another football story. I'll give you another Dan Marino story. I'm with my buddies because when I moved down here, I became a Miami Dolphins fan for a while. I had season tickets, so I'm watching the Dolphins. I'm in the end zone, the first row, a bunch of my buddies who bought tickets. And I'm getting pissed off. And I go like this, literally. This is why I believe in this whole thing about what you say can attract whatever. I go like this. I go, this is bullshit. I can play better than this. As I'm walking out of the stadium, someone walks up to me with a clipboard and says, how would you like to be in the Hooters halftime shootout? I'm like, all right, fine.
Shut up.
So he takes me and this other guy about the same age and size, takes us down to the end zone. They put shoulder pads on us. They put a jersey on us. I'm there with the Hooters girl. My buddies can see me in the stands. They're like, Panzeca has lost his mind. He's going to play. Somehow he's on. Why is he on the field?
How did this happen?
And now I sign the release really quickly. So my name's Panzeca. The announcer, so I sign it. It looks like it makes sense later. So I go out there. They spin you around, you run through the tires, and you come back, and they give you a football, and you have to hit that hootie owl. Remember that inflatable owl that we used to walk across the field to hit it? First throw, I don't know, it's like 20, 30 yards. Maybe it's 20. I don't know what it was, but I hit it in the head. It goes down. And then they're like, this never happened before. We'll give him another one. So while the owl is trying to get up, I keep hitting him while he's trying to I keep nailing the owl. The announcer now says, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Panzeca wants Dan Marino's job.
Panzeca.
So my name was mentioned in this. Mike Panzeca wants Dan Marino's job. They go, we've never seen this before. Like, you just keep hitting me out. I'm like, I know. Now, the only thing I wanted to do was not fall down in front of 80,000 people because I'm running through tires and I'm wearing TiVos. Remember the TiVo sandals, whatever?
Oh, my gosh.
And I have pictures, and the only thing you can see is a guy running through tires with a hat with a ponytail coming out the back. That's how I used to wear my hair. So I go to the improv class. I'm in an improv troupe. I go to class that night, and everyone's talking about it. They're like, dude, did you see that guy at the game at halftime? I go, yeah, that was me. They're like, yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
I go, dude, that was me. I swear to God. So that happened, too. That was great.
That's amazing. I want to go to a football game with you, man.
I want to go to a football game with you.
That's on my bucket list.
Yeah.
I want to go to a game where you're playing.
Yeah.
So what's next, Greg? We got a few minutes left here.
Yeah.
What's next? What's going on? What's up and coming, and what can we do? I guess we can't really. How can we get people to follow you, Greg?
I'll put it out there. Instagram and Twitter, but mostly Instagram I use at Greg Hamilton WWE.
Right.
That's the one.
Any dots there?
No, just at.
Hey,
that's
don't
that's
explain it, Greg. Greg, don't explain it. It will make it worse.
Don't throw me off. I need a dot.
Explaining it does not help. I learned this a long time ago. Just let him ask questions and ignore him. Go ahead.
Yeah, just at Greg Hamilton WWE. As far as what's next, listen, I'm like living in the moment right now, man. I'm the ring announcer for Friday Night SmackDown on Fox. Right. For WWE, I'm on Fox every Friday night. That's a dream come true, something I thought would never happen.
Right.
That's network TV, man. So
you're living the dream, my friend.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of just enjoying it and being grateful for it. And if I can, listen, I'm happy if I'm doing this for 20 years and people, I can be the ring announcer that people, you know what I mean? Like,
well, you deserve it. You deserve it. And I know there's been a lot of buzz. And I'm just going to be the first one to ask you. Any aspirations to be president of the United States? Are you?
Hell no. I mean, at this point,
I can see this happening. He loses his job somehow at WWE. He walks out and the guy says, "Hey, how would you like to be president of the United States? Follow me."
And you know what, Al? That's been my career in a nutshell, brother. You have it. You've got my secret weapon. Al knows my secret sauce now.
That's how I got on the ship. That's how I got on. Some of my mistakes is that I didn't follow through on some of the opportunities. Like, well, Al got me on the ship when they said, "How would you like to be on a cruise ship?" So I did that. But when I was on the ship, it was actually the show that we did together, Greg. This old guy came up to me afterwards and said he was friends with Donald Trump, Jay Leno, and Larry King, and they were looking for new comedians for the Tonight Show, and I never believed him. And I kept kind of putting it off, and I used to talk to him on the phone. And then one day I saw a picture on Larry King with him and Donald Trump.
Oh, no way.
I'll tell you what was weird is I was so afraid. I didn't think I was good enough. I watched, what was I watching? Something about overcoming. What the hell was I watching? Oh, I was watching Billions.
Oh, I love that.
And I was watching her motivate somebody into trying something hard and him and motivating people. And a couple times I've had opportunities and it was so weird. It's so neurotic. I'm sure a lot of people go through this, but I didn't think I was good enough. I was afraid to be on the show and die. I didn't even realize how they want everyone to do well. They don't want you to die on the show. But, I didn't pursue something.
When I got the Murph Griffin show, I stay in LA, did it the following week. I spent a week in bed because I was so terrified.
Yeah.
I mean, I got the show, and now what? Now I have to go out there and perform. Now I have to deliver.
Yeah.
And it was the most excruciating week of my life.
And one of my boys who's going to be on the show, not this week, but next week, Tom Agna, he's from Cincinnati. We actually lived, he wrote for, he went out there, wrote for Chris Rock, wrote for Conan O'Brien. He's actually living in Thailand right now, but he's going to be on the show. But he has that. I asked him to be on the show, and he's like, I got to get over my anxiety. I'm like, dude, it's our podcast. It's, but he suffers from that too. It's just, I remember when he got a chance to be on the Tonight Show, he was on with that Van Damme guy. He was on with Jay Leno. The week he was supposed to go on, he got so sick and tensed out. He had bleeding vocal cords. He could not talk, so they had to repostpone it, and did get to be on the show. But let me ask you that real quick. Your voice, how do you protect this moneymaker here? What do you do?
Well, and I tell people this all the time, is that it's not the throat, it's not up here, it's in your diaphragm.
Okay.
Right.
Like it's all about projecting from here. Like this is the engine. This is just little bells and whistles for inflection, but it's all projection from here. So my voice, I never really have an issue with going out or anything. I speak from here, and I've just learned to make that a habit. That's honestly, that's it.
That's the first thing they teach you when you take classes for theater. First thing they teach you is just, because in theater you have to project.
Yeah, there's no microphone. It's just,
Exactly. Yeah, well, then now there are microphones in the ceiling, but, you have to project from the diaphragm.
I was an announcer. I almost was in this field. When I was at Roger Bacon High School, I took a speech class. I was a freshman, and my teacher comes up to me and goes, I could have been Greg Hamilton, for God's sake. He comes up to me, he goes, how would you like to announce the football games? And I'm like, all right. And it really was about my voice. I think it was about my voice.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I still have the index card that I memorized. And it was so great. It was, Roger Bacon had the greatest band in the country. We didn't have a great football team. We had a great band. So they would come out and they would stop. And I'll never forget, I was like, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's game. This evening, the Roger Bacon Spartans will take on the Withrow Tigers. And now we ask that you please rise and join in the national anthem played by the nationally acclaimed Roger Bacon High School Marching Band. It was great. And then I had spotters, and they would, do that. But the one game that was the biggest one was when they played Moeller, and NBC was doing a show about Moeller High School. My dad had never come to the game. And I used to tell him I was an announcer. I don't think he believed anything I said. But anyway.
He didn't believe you.
So I run up to the press box, and I get up there, and they're looking at me, and it's filled with TV people, and they're like, oh, Mike, sorry, you're not going to announce tonight. Nobody told me. You're not going to announce tonight because they have NBC here. And I'm like, okay. So now I'm downstairs getting popcorn, and I'm standing in line getting popcorn, and I look over, and my dad is getting popcorn, and he's looking at me, and he's just like, and I'm like, I swear, I used to be an announcer, and then, if it wasn't for my cousins from Elder and everybody, I would never believe me, man. But that was great.
Did he ever see you? Did he ever see you announce?
No, I don't think he ever saw me announce. But I did basketball too. I did the basketball for that. But I there's a lot of things. But
why do you pursue it? Why do you pursue that?
Life got different at around 15 is when things went south for me, Al. That's when I got kicked out. You know what? I'll tell you what. I wrote a speech. I won a speech contest, and they said I could give a speech on anything I wanted to the entire assembly, and I decided to give a speech on the legalization of marijuana to an all-boys Catholic high school. However, I got caught. I got kicked out for being in the bathroom while other people were smoking weed. And after I got kicked out of Roger Bacon, I went down for a while until I got my act together. But yeah, that's what happened. I was on a good path until that day.
You were just ahead of your time, man. I mean, look at it now. You know?
I remember they go, you can do a speech on anything you want to the assembly. I go, anything? And they're like, yeah. I go, okay.
Oh, man.
The legalization of marijuana. And
how did you go over?
Huh?
How did you go over?
Bus, on the way there, it went great because I did it. I was stoned on the bus on the way to school. And the bus driver was laughing. Everyone was laughing, and I did great. I didn't get to give the speech. I got kicked. I got suspended 5 minutes before I was supposed to go on.
Why?
Because they were smoking.
Right.
But anyway, we've kept Greg long enough. And listen, if you're watching right now, I want you to look down. I want you to share. Okay?
Share.
We want to be like Greg. We want followers. We want 80,000 people chanting our name. So what you do is you start a watch party, and this is on live tonight, and you can watch it tonight, but then you can share it with your friends. Follow us at standupguyradio.com, Stand Up Guy Radio on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're also on Podbean. You can watch us on YouTube. I have T-shirts. I have hats.
Yeah. Look at that design. I mean, custom design. Custom. Took months to put that together. Look at that.
I want you to show them the pillow. The pillow's the best. No, the pillow.
Oh, the pillow.
Yeah, that's the best.
I have a pillow. It's on the bed.
Oh, God, that is so stupid.
It's, all I started out with was business cards. And then they go, okay, would you like a T-shirt? I'm like, oh. They know how to appeal to your narcissism. They already know, But actually, when Al and I start doing shows together again at clubs, we're going to promote the show.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, we're going to sell T-shirts and give T-shirts away. You got a coffee cup coming your way, bro. Coffee cup.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take it.
I'll
definitely put it over. I'll put it over for sure.
And when I'm in Cincinnati again, and dude, when I get up there, you're coming to our reunion. We're going out. We're going to Skyline. We're going to La Roses. We're going to hang out. Want to thank you so much for being on the show. Al, anything you want to say?
Yes, I just want to say that I am sure that this has been the highlight of your life.
Indeed, absolutely.
All the things that you have accomplished cannot come near to being on this podcast.
Absolutely. I mean, this is it. This is the pinnacle. This is what I've been working so hard for.
It's so great to see you, man.
It is so great to see you,
man. You know that Mike and I talk about you all the time.
All the time. And I defend you. I don't care what he says. So maybe... Go ahead, Greg. Go ahead.
Well, I did want to say this, man, and I'm being dead serious. I was going to say this before we were even going on the air, but man, that chapter of my life was one of the most influential and best chapters I've ever had working on ships. And I tell people this all the time too when I'm hosting or teaching hosts. So people ask, "Oh, how do I get into this?" I tell them, I said, my years on cruise ships, that's where I cut my teeth.
Yeah.
Because there's no producer, director. It's you and a microphone. And you're surrounded by other creative people that you can learn and grow from. I'm a 21, 22, 23-year-old kid, and I'm getting to learn from a Panzeca, from a Romero, from a Solano, from these guys that, all of these comedians, Stanley Ullman, that have been in the business a long time that are teaching me about improv and about how to work with crowds. And that chapter did more. That chapter, I'm not kidding, is a huge reason why I was able to make it work.
That was your foundation, Greg. That was your foundation.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I tell people that's the best foundation I could have ever gotten.
Yeah.
Because you got to cut your teeth, man. There's no training wheels out there, baby. It's you and Mike.
I know.
But Al's absolutely right about being at the right place at the right time, and that opens the door, but it takes talent to stay in the room. And
definitely. I've always said it. Yeah. Luck gets you in the door, talent keeps you in the room.
One of the things I'm good at is recognizing talent and other people in comedy and lots of other things. And I knew from day one that you had it. I was like, this kid's going places. I always knew that. I knew it. I did.
Well, I'm glad you guys. I appreciate you guys for being a part of that chapter of my life, man. Because gosh,
so does this mean I could stay at your place when I come into town? Is that what this means?
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Come on. So, I mean, we're gonna put you on the couch probably, but right. It's got an ottoman.
So here's what I was thinking, if you don't mind, maybe Greg could take us out with I don't know how they sign off or say goodbye, but maybe he could do a little sign off for us to take us to end the show. What do you think, Greg? You got something?
I could do that. All right. What are your handles for like YouTube, Instagram? Whatever.
Stand Up Guy Radio.
Sugar. Let's start using
No,
sugar.
Al, we're not doing Al. Al's diabetic. He's now craving sugar. Weird.
So you're Stand Up Guy Radio on what? On Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube?
Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Stand Up Guy Radio.
Okay, Stand Up Guy Radio. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
That's all you got to remember.
Okay.
The initials is SUGR.
Yes,
sugar.
we know, Al, but we know how to spell. Okay.
All right. Here we go. 3, 2. Hey, everybody. Greg Hamilton here from WWE, ring announcer for Friday Night SmackDown on Fox. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to Stand Up Guys Radio. Make sure you check it out on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, and especially that Instagram page because Al's just now learning how to use Instagram. So there might be some pictures on there, some pictures that probably shouldn't be on Instagram. So if you really want an exclusive, follow Stand Up Guy Radio on Instagram and check their stories because there's one from Al earlier today in the bathroom. But anyway, make sure you follow us, Stand Up Guy Radio, Al Romero, Mike Panzeca. We'll see you next time. Good night, everybody.
All right.
That was awesome, man.